the, the teacher won't sit down. Let me introduce the newest member of California ReLeaf team, Alex Binck. Alex is the tree inventory program manager. And I will let Alex talk about the tree inventory project and how things have been going thus far. This is really this is a remarkable project. I hope you all are reasonably familiar with what it is, but I'll let Alex give you a bit more of an introduction. And again, we will follow Alex with Henry, Miranda, and Victoria. So this is really the nuts and bolts of urban forest management. So go, Alex.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm excited to be sharing our program with you guys today. So I'll just go ahead and jump in. I guess we're a little behind. So, okay, so I think probably most of you guys have heard of this program by now, but if you haven't, basically it's a free service that's available to any network member. So all of you guys to have access to the TreePlotter inventory software, which is kind of a professional software suite that a lot of arborists use. And it's a way to kind of put all your tree data that you've already been collecting, put it in one place, organize it, analyze it, do all kinds of things with it. So if you are a network member and you are interested, you should definitely sign up for it. We've been doing trainings to get everybody up to speed, and we're really excited about it. So just quickly, just wanted to let you know kind of what we were hoping people would be able to do with the program. We want to make it easy for you guys to keep track of your tree data. We want to make it easy for you guys to go back to those trees after they've been planted. That's a really important element of tree management and tree health that, you know, sometimes doesn't get as much focus as the actual planting. And we're trying to enable people to do more of that if we can. We want to make it easy for to do reporting as well, because a lot of this data that we're tracking, we know, is so that we can pass it on to our funders and our supporters so they can kind of know what our achievements are. And sometimes that can be time consuming. So with tools like this, it can make a big difference. Finally, we're hoping that once, you know, we get a lot of different groups adding this data into one big system, we're going to be able to go back and look at that and find some interesting trends in terms of tree survival. You know, what types of projects, what types of species, what types of maintenance and care are having the biggest impact. And then we'll be able to share that information with the network in the future to help support you guys in the work that you do. Okay, so, you know, like I said, we've been doing a lot of trainings, getting a lot of groups on board. So there's, you know, a lot of people have been kind of just collecting data on their trees as they plant or on trees that they've planted in the past, putting it in the system. I think most people have an idea that, you know, that's what you can do with a tree inventory. But one of the things I wanted to show you guys here today is some of the kind of fancier tricks that TreePlotter can do. So I'm going to exit out of my slideshow here and kind of real time just show you some stuff that we can look at. Oh, oops, that's the wrong tab. Okay. All righty. So this is TreePlotter here. First thing, you have a lot of data in here, and one thing that you can do is look at some charts and graphs. So for example, if you wanted to look at, you know, sort of a bird's eye view of all the trees that you've added in there, what kind of species diversity you're looking at, you know, that's something that we've been talking a lot about, you know, in terms of making sure that as the climate's changing, we're ready for that. One of the strategies that can be really important there is a diverse urban forest, so that, you know, if something unexpected happens, let's say, you know, we have a big drought or something, you know, some species will do well. On the flip side, we can see some years we may get, you know, inundated, right? And we want to have species that can tolerate that as well. So you can see there's some nice easy graphs that are, you know, built into the program here. We can see, you know, we've got, oops, I'm going to unselect not specified because that's probably not, doesn't need to be in there. So we can see, you know, in our inventory so far, we've got a lot of oaks, right? And specifically, if I go down to species, a lot of coast live oaks. So even though that's a great tree, we might start to wonder, hey, maybe we need to diversify a little bit away from that, right? I know we've got some emerging pests that are threatening coast live oaks here in Southern California. We don't want to be too vulnerable to those. If, you know, 30% of our urban forest is composed of that species, we might be in trouble if we lose those. So another thing that you can do with this is you can share this data with your partners. So I'm going to go into basically a special map that I created earlier. Give me 1 second. So this is called a map scenario. And basically, if I go here and click on my map scenario that I created, should open as a new tab. Give me a second to load. Of course, it works every time you test it until, okay, there we go. All right, so this is an example of, still loading. So yeah, this is an example of like a local park by my house. I wanted to plant some trees there, so I drew up this little map here, and I shared this with the Parks Department. It's a really easy way to visualize, what I wanted to do. So you can see I've got some oaks that I wanted to plant. I've got some other spaces where we hadn't picked a species yet, but I've identified this as a potential site. So if I click on this, and this is, again, this is what the Parks Department, when I send them this link, this is exactly what they would be seeing. They'll be able to pull this up, and they can look at photograph that I took. Right, here's the site. It's a tree well. They can see kind of what the size is. Is that appropriate for a given tree species or not? Another cool tool is the street view. So if I hadn't taken a picture and you're next to a street, you can go ahead and look at what's going on there. This is a great tool as well for if you've added a tree to your system, maybe you planted it 5 years ago or something, you haven't had a chance to actually go back in person, you can actually just go check in on it virtually, because Google is always driving around taking all these pictures, and you can see how it's doing. And in fact, I was looking at a tree that I planted about 5 years ago earlier today, and I saw, oh wow, it's nobody ever went back and took the stakes off. It's kind of hanging off, and so maybe I should go out there and pull that off, right? So there's all kinds of stuff that you can see in here once you've got the data in here. The last thing I wanted to show you guys, which I think is really cool, is I'm going to go back to my main view so I can see all the trees rather than just that one park. And if I were to, let's say I had a project that I was doing that was funded by CAL FIRE, a generous sponsor of a lot of our work here. So if I have put all my tree data in there, and I want to say, oh, I only want to look at my trees from this one project, the ReLeaf office planting. I'm trying to revegetate around our office, right? So I can go in and select my filters there. Oops, I didn't apply it. Click the apply button. Then I can go into this data tab and just see only the trees that are as a part of that project. And what I can then do, make sure that all my data is visible. Looks like it is. So I've got all this data, right? I can go ahead, oops, uh-oh, what did I do? Oh boy, we lost it. Okay, well, I'm gonna do it again, I guess. I need to, sorry about that. Clear that out. Okay, well, I closed my tab that it was all ready, but. Okay, so hopefully that will now be back where I was, and I can go back to my data table. Oops, damn. Okay, I see the problem. It's because this tab is the specific view that I built for the Parks Department, so it doesn't have that project in it. Okay, there we go. Now we're back to my project over here, right? So I've got 9 trees in my project, and what I want to do is export this. We don't need to give it a name. And now if I open this up, I've got all my tree data there from my project that I want to report. So I'm just going to this not, oh, it's because it didn't. Right, because that also got unclicked. Okay. There we go. Okay, so like I said, double check that all my data is there because by default, it only shows you kind of a limited view. And if I want to export all of it, I got to make sure it's all of it. So I'll do that again. Open this up. And then I want to copy this into a file that I've prepared here. Some of you guys might be familiar with this file, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this data here, all my tree data, and I've got it set up so that hopefully if this works properly, well, it didn't. Yes. Okay, well, I'm not sure why it didn't work. You know, it might be because I'm on a different computer. I didn't set it up on this computer. So anyway, if it had worked correctly, the point was to show that this can save a lot of time, right? So if I export all that data, I've got my data all in the system correctly, then I can paste it in there and it should fill out all the needed information for me. But I'm not sure why it didn't work. So, oh well, might need a little more polishing on that. But okay, so I guess we'll go back to, where's our slideshow? Is that this? Yeah. Okay. So if you're interested, hopefully, what you can do is you can go to our website, californiareleaf.org/network tree inventory program. That's kind of our hub that has all the information, all the different training videos. Some of them we've recorded that are available to you, how to participate. And there's an application there that you can fill out. We'll contact you to set up your account. And then, like I said, you can watch some recordings. We've got some virtual office hours that are available. So the next one is on May 15th from 2 to 3 p.m. So if you're interested, feel free to sign up for that. And then we've been focused kind of on the basic training so far, just getting everybody able to use some of the basic features. But we'll also be doing some trainings on some of the more advanced stuff that you can do, like what I was just showing you coming up. So, all righty. So that's just a link to that research or that resource library. And then we also have the TreePlotter support page, which is a great resource as well. Okay. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Alex, I was in your workshop yesterday. Your match was awesome. Learned a lot. Can you just speak to, and I know it's an advanced feature, but how this will eventually integrate iTree?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we're kind of still working on that. So that was one of the things that we really wanted to do from the beginning is allow for, the integration with iTree benefit calculation, which is something that a lot of funders want to see. It proved to be pretty complicated to implement, a little bit more than we expected. So it's not up and running yet. We've got Planet Geo, which is the company that that maintains this software. They're kind of building us a custom solution to that, so that eventually, basically what will happen is, you'll add your tree information, like, oh, I'm 20 feet north of a building or whatever, all that stuff that we often keep track of. You'll put it in there, and then hopefully it'll be able to calculate all those benefits that we normally do in iTree, but it'll do it inside of TreePlotter, and you'll just export them out into that spreadsheet, just like I tried to show you, and then you'll be able to fill out the MDCA and all the other paperwork very easily. So that's the goal. We're not there yet, though.
So I'm a bit of I'll just say it, I'm a bit of an old school urban forester. And when I first started, none of this technology was available, and now it's become a requirement. However, my concern is that there are multiple, so in the city of LA, as you probably know, the nonprofits are being asked to now learn and use Davy Treekeeper. I've been to multiple trainings for that, trying to get my head around that alone. And I understand that the Forest Service has also developed their own inventory I thought I heard this at another urban forestry conference, but the point is, and then internally we use survey 1, 2, 3. It's going to be very difficult for me personally to stay on top of all of these inventory systems. And how can they be integrated at all? Because if we have to use this for state purposes and then another one at the city level, and then internally we have our own, can you kind of talk to that a little bit, how we might get our heads around all that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. You guys are kind of anticipating some future directions that we're working on, but we're not ready to announce yet. But yeah, that's absolutely something that we want to do eventually. You know, they are, you know, there are all these different systems, all these different organizations have built their own systems, and, you know, they're not necessarily designed to be interoperable, but you know, there are ways to do it. And one of the things that we are working with Planet Geo on as well is trying to create sort of an automatic sync up that we can do, hopefully. Now, it's going to depend on each individual system and how it's configured. So we do kind of have to go through one by one and build that out, I think. But the Davy Tree Keeper that you guys are using, that's definitely one that's high on our list that we want to develop that, that interface with. I mean, fundamentally, all of these systems are just ways to graphically display data, right? So if you can get the data out, which we just did, right? It's pretty easy. If you can configure it properly, then you should be able to put it back into another system. So in principle, it's not that complicated, but you know, there's a lot of messy details that we have to iron out when we're working on that. So that's what we're working on now, but yeah, it should be possible to do that.
It's not a slam dunk thing. This came up right at the beginning when we were looking at this. What are we going to do? Because we knew what was happening in the LA region. So we talked to Planet Geo at the very beginning that, you know, we can't expect you to use this directly. We expect you to use Davy. So the API is on the list for them to do. There will be sometimes, I guess, updates. We'll have to make sure that we redo things as far as the connection, but it is planned. So, all right.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, an API is basically like the interface that the computer programs use to communicate with each other. So what Cindy's talking about is sort of building a structure for, you know, TreePlotter, our system, to communicate directly with, you know, Davy's system or whatever, and that way they can just automatically transfer that information over. Otherwise, you know, what we can do right now is we can take that into a spreadsheet and do it manually, but that's a lot of work, right? So we don't want to do that. Yeah.
Let's go to Ken.
Well, one of the things that we've discovered is, you know, as long as you have the GPS location, you can communicate with other systems relatively easily. They can eventually write some systems in there. So what's important is getting, as Allison pointed out, you want to make sure you get this information in graphical format and get it, you know, get the GPS location down. And that's what makes TreePlotter so easy to use, is because you don't really have to use GPS locations. You have a map to work off of, and it is simple to use, and it can be used by everybody in your organization because it can be on your phone. And that is you know, light years in terms of advancing the use of this. So regardless of whatever happens in the future, you want to use this now. Get your information into the system. It's really going to be beneficial to you.
Yeah, that's a great point. All of these different systems are fundamentally based on like GIS, GPS coordinates, basically. So the location of the tree. So if you have that information, if you can get it into the system, you know, we'll find a way to move it over if that's ever necessary. Yeah.
So for me, this is that alignment thing again, intentional alignment. And I would like some reassurance that the humans are talking to each other.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, computers, as much as we like to convince ourselves otherwise, They are not intelligent. They only communicate insofar as we tell them how to communicate. So yeah, this is a project that we're reaching out to anyone we can to try to make this compatible and make it work. Yeah. Well, there's a cost to the TreePlotter license, but we and our supporters, CAL FIRE, the U.S. Forest Service, and Prop 68 are paying for our license. So if you're a network member and you want to use this service, it's free to you.
Quick question back here. So over in San Diego, and we have a very, very similar thing that Tree San Diego has, the TreePlotter. Is my Tree San Diego person in here?
Yeah, they also use TreePlotter. Yeah.
So looks exactly the same. Is that integratable? Because we've done, I love the system that this is doing. I'd love to participate. And if I wanted to do it right away, do I keep going into Tree San Diego's and knowing that it might get reintegrated, or do I put them in both, or do I how do I guess integration is sort of on everybody's mind, but yeah, with
Yeah.
Tree San Diego's.
So it should be easier to integrate between two instances of TreePlotter than it would be to Davy. So I don't foresee that being a major problem. Now, there are questions in terms of like how each system is customized, right? So there is a little bit of work that needs to go into making sure those fit together, but I think it's very doable. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not sure.
I would say, take a picture of that screen and call Alex. And then we got a question here.
And just to reassure everybody, this is something we had thought of very early on when this project began, but there's no way around it. So the way to kind of move forward is to work with Alex. He will answer all your questions. And yes, the issue of where this data goes after it's in what I'm going to call Alex's database has been on our minds from the start. So yes, humans are talking, eventually the databases will be talking too. But there's not a way to bypass what we're doing here.
So before the advent of the open API structure, the grand unifier was Excel. So, I mean, that's so simple. Even today, most data entry points, they accumulate into an Excel spreadsheet at some point, export to Excel. Everything I use currently, I can export to Excel. So will this have the ability to import data from an Excel spreadsheet? I can just rearrange the fields into the standard format, and then I can have my lists of data, and then it'll come in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's something that, like I said, making this transition, there are some complexities there that we want to talk about first. So I don't think it's something that we're going to allow you to do unilaterally, but I'm going to assist you if you have an interest in doing that. It's something a lot of groups have been asking about. We haven't done it yet because I want people to get a basic understanding of what they're doing before we do, but yes, it's absolutely possible. So basically you can do the inverse of what I just did on screen. You pop it out, and I popped it out into a spreadsheet. If we wanted to put that right back in, we totally could. Yeah.
Outstanding.
I've got one more question, and then. How long will it be free for members? Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, let's just be real open. I got a grant that paid for it for 3 years. So, and my intention is to seek future funding to make sure that that's happening. I don't think we'd want to set this up and just drop it. And however, if you want to, how do I put this? If you ever want to pay for it, that's fine. Let me know. But we've got those different levels. We've got the levels for membership, right? The basic 120 and whatever. Feel free to just add another number in there.
But I think, in all honesty, I think you want to use it. Like, more than worrying about paying for it right now, I think we want people to use the thing so that when Cindy goes back to our partners, federal and state, she can say, hey, everybody's using it.
Yeah, that is the proof in the pudding. We don't want, okay, and let's be really clear. We know that there's some people that are the cutting edge type of people. So we're happy that they're going to do this soon. We also want everybody else to move into it fairly quickly. We don't, this has been around for a while as far as a system. It has been, it's not like we're going with a brand new system that's raw. So please think about doing this fairly soon. You can do the old conservative thing, which is where you keep the other system, you keep your spreadsheets or whatever it is you're using for a while, but then you transition to the new system and check it out. Because this will really make a lot of difference when you're talking to your funders, as far as showing what you're doing, as far as figuring out what your problems are. And as Alex said, we also think it's great for research. We like to partner with the U.S. Forest Service research on what are the best, and Cal Poly on what are the best species. So think about it that way.
Yeah, and I would just say, thinking about it as an organization, you're going to come up with a lot of questions and you don't know the answer, but Alex is here to help you. And so definitely get in touch. We want to help you get the answer. So don't be afraid. Reach out, okay?
All right, thank you, Alex. Fabulous. Our next